Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to decode the patterns of some of the most creative minds out there. We're going to dive into a side of human intelligence that shows how what we sometimes call weird thinking, well, it isn't a bug at all. It's actually a high-performance feature of our brain's wiring.
All right, let's jump right in with a little test. Take a look at this. You've got 1 minute. How many different uses for a simple, everyday paperclip can you possibly come up with? Seriously, pause right now if you want to. Give it a real shot.
So how'd you do? If your brain immediately shouted clasping paper and then kind of hit a wall, don't sweat it. That is completely normal. It just means your brain is running the standard software it was taught in school, a program that's all about finding that one single correct answer.
And this right here really frames the two ways our brains are coded to think. On one side, you've got that standard, analytical code. It sees a paperclip and knows its job. But on the other side, you have the divergent code. It sees a paperclip and thinks, hey, that could be a lockpick, or a mini sculpture, or even a conductor for a tiny circuit. That is the engine of creativity.
This brings us right to the core of it all. You know, being smart isn't just one thing. Thanks to research from psychologists like Robert Sternberg, we know our brains have these two totally distinct operating systems for different kinds of intelligence. So let's break them down.
So first up, we've got convergent thinking. Think of this as your brain's inner auditor. It's super efficient, it's logical, and its whole purpose is to narrow down all the possibilities until it finds the one single best solution. This is what you're using on tests like the SATs, where every question has only one right answer in a bubble.
And then you've got divergent thinking. This is your brain's explorer mode. It's not looking for the best answer. It's designed to generate tons of unique answers. It just loves possibilities. It's also actively fighting against something called functional fixedness. That's the little mental block that makes you see a paperclip as only a paperclip.
And here is the absolute key. The two aren't really connected. I mean, you can have a 4.0 GPA, you can be a master of that convergent analytical thinking, and still be a total beginner when it comes to divergent creative thought. They are two different skills, and they're processed differently in the brain.
Okay, so if creativity is its own separate skill, then what's it made of? Well, researchers have actually identified a kind of blueprint, 5 essential ingredients that all come together to form a truly creative mind. So let's unpack this blueprint and see what they are.
So it all starts with a foundation of expertise. You can't think outside the box if you don't even know where the box is, right? Then on top of that, you need imaginative thinking skills to see things from new angles. Next comes a risk-taking personality, because you have to be willing to try stuff that might totally fail. And a creative environment, that's huge. People who support and challenge you. But right at the very heart of it all, intrinsic interest. A deep, personal love for just doing the thing.
And get this just shows how powerful that intrinsic interest really is. Study after study shows that if you pay people to be creative, they often become less creative. It's wild. It turns out the reward system in our brain gets way more fired up by that genuine fascination with the process than it does by external rewards, like cash.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this stuff actually show up in the real world? This is where we connect the dots and we start to see why some habits that we often label as weird are actually really sophisticated cognitive tools for innovation.
I mean, take talking to yourself. We've all seen someone do it, or maybe you do it yourself. From a brain science perspective, it's an incredibly efficient thing called verbal reasoning. You're not going crazy. You're literally running a high-speed simulation in your prefrontal cortex. You're organizing super complex thoughts way faster than you could if you just kept them all spinning around inside your head. And we have all had this experience. You're wrestling with a problem for hours, you get nowhere, you finally give up, and then boom, you're in the shower or out for a walk, and the solution just pops into your head, fully formed. That is the aha moment. In psychology, we call it an insight problem. Now, this isn't magic. It's a totally predictable process in the brain. The Wallace stage model breaks it down for us. First, you prepare by loading up on information. Then comes the really crucial step, incubation. This is where you consciously stop working on it and your subconscious mind takes over, making all these new connections. That leads to illumination, your aha, and finally, verification, where you actually test out the new idea.
So what this really means is that those times when you're resting, taking that long walk, having some quiet time, just being alone, those aren't signs of laziness. They are an absolute requirement for the incubation stage. That's when your brain's default mode network kicks in, allowing it to wander and build the bridges that lead to those breakthrough ideas.
All right, we've gone through the theory, we've looked at the habits, so how do we actually put this into practice?
Here is a simple, actionable technique you can use to consciously switch from your brain's analytical code to its creative one.
You know, most of us have this little judge living in our heads. The second a new idea pops up, the judge is there with a verdict. That's dumb, or that'll never work. And just like that, the idea is dead. To unlock creativity, you have to switch to the craftsperson mindset. The craftsperson doesn't judge. It just looks at the idea and asks, what could this do?
And here is the tool to make that switch happen, the 24-hour test. The next time you have a weird or different kind of thought, I want you to tell your inner judge to take a break. Instead, just ask yourself this one question. Force yourself to explore its potential, to just see where it might go without judging it too early. This simple question literally forces your brain into the craftsman's mode of evaluation.
Ultimately, thinking weird isn't some kind of disorder. It's the sign of a mind that just refuses to be a prisoner of the single correct answer. You aren't your messy, unruly thoughts. You are the awareness behind all of them, the one who gets to choose which of the infinite possibilities to explore, to build, and to bring into reality. So, what will you choose to build?